The Kansas City Chiefs, coming off a huge win on Sunday Night Football over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are now 3-1, and they will stay under the lights, but it'll be now at Arrowhead Stadium where they face off against their longtime rivals in the AFC West, the Las Vegas Raiders, who are coming off their first win of the year, beating the Denver Broncos to get themselves off the floor at 1-3. This is a very big game for both teams. Obviously, a little bit bigger for the Raiders. If they lose this game, I would consider them all but done in the AFC West race. It'd be 3 games back with already 2 divisional losses, 1 to the Chargers and 1 to the Chiefs. I look at this game, and this game is very simple. The Raiders have to figure out a way to curtail Kansas City's offense. Last year, the Raiders gave up 89 points in the 2 games. They were outscored 89-23. Now, of course, brand new coaching staff, different style of football. But the Raiders have struggled defensively to this point. Okay, they have been bad in most areas. In the red zone, they are one of the worst defenses in the league. They are 29th defensively in the red zone. By the way, Chiefs 30th, a problem area for them. But the Raiders have given up 10 touchdowns in 13 trips. That does not bode well for them defensively. On third down, the Raiders have actually been okay, 35.4%. That's 11th in the NFL. But in drive statistics, this is where things get a little hairy for the Raiders. The Raiders sit at 27th in the league, giving up 2.27 points per drive. That is not going to get the job done against Kansas City. They are 22nd in yards allowed per drive. Look, I don't overwhelm you with stats. The point I'm making is the Raiders defense has struggled this season, and they have not played very good teams other than the Chargers in week 1. They played the Cardinals, so of course the Chiefs saw, and the Chiefs pounded. The Raiders lost to the Cardinals. They then played the Titans, who are not good. They lost to the Titans. Then they played the Broncos, who have one of the worst offenses in football, and Russell Wilson easily had his best day. Now you play the Chiefs, who, again, you want to take the Chargers aside, who are very talented, are by a wide margin more talented than anybody else that the Raiders have seen. This game, of course, in Arrowhead Stadium as well, on Monday Night Football, the Chiefs, it figures, will be keyed up. So for the Raiders, look, here is the path for the Raiders in this game. Max Crosby has to be fantastic, and he has been this year. He has 4 sacks. He's coming off a 2-sack game against Denver. They need Chandler Jones to do something. Chandler Jones this year has 8 tackles and no sacks. The Raiders as a team, I just mentioned Crosby has 4 sacks. The Raiders have 5. Nate Hobbs, their corner, with the only other one. They rank toward the bottom of the league in pressure rate. If they don't get home against Mahomes, we all know how that's going to end because they have nobody who scares you in that secondary. Hobbs is a good corner. He's not a great corner. They have nobody else. The linebackers aren't particularly adept in coverage. The Chiefs will have a field day throwing the ball, moving the ball down the field in this game if the Raiders cannot get pressure, and that has been a problem for them. They're going to need to figure it out. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm sliding the line. I'm doing whatever I have to do to put 2 guys on Crosby. And look, last game against Denver, the Raiders ran some games up front. They ran some stunts. It helped Crosby get loose. One of his sacks, he came free off the edge when the Broncos blew a protection. The other one was a game inside where he came clean off the right guard. I don't worry about that as much with the Chiefs, considering who's in the offensive interior. I think they'll be fine there. The big thing is going to be Wiley will go against Crosby. Now, this sounds weird. I actually think in a weird way that's a better matchup for the Chiefs than if he was against Orlando Brown. Brown has gotten a little bit too much flack for my like this year, but Brown doesn't deal well with the speed guy. You'd rather him deal with a power guy. Crosby, listen, he's got power, but he's a menace coming around the corner. Wiley's actually got pretty good feet. He's good at that. Wiley did a nice job last year against Max Crosby. So I think if you're the Chiefs, certainly you chip, you give some help. But I think that matchup, I don't think you feel horrible about it if you're the Chiefs. From a stylistic matchup, I think it's okay. And again, the one good thing with Crosby is Mahomes should be able to at least see him coming more often than not. If the Raiders are going to win the game, they're going to have to, in my opinion, find additional pass rush, and they're going to have to force some turnovers in this game. They're not winning this game straight up. I would be shocked if they're able to do it. But let's move to the other side of the ball for a minute, okay? Willie Gay is still going to be out. He's still suspended. This is the last game Trent McDuffie has to miss on IR. We'll see how soon he can come back after he becomes eligible to return. But everybody else, unless there's a surprise, should be healthy, should be good to go for this game. Mike Dana practiced last week. He might be able to play this week. We shall see. But look, The Raiders' offensive line is the weakness of this group. They are not good up front. The Raiders have had all kinds of problems blocking. Carr has been under duress, and Carr's numbers kind of show that. Look, if you look at Derek Carr this season, it's been really average. 61% completion rate. It's not great. 6.7 yards per attempt. It's not great. 6 touchdowns to 4 picks. Not very good. And if you want a little bit of a comparison across the league, so Carr has Darren Waller. He has Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfrow has missed the last 2 games with concussion. That is something to watch, by the way, to see if he plays this game, as he's missed since getting hurt on the final play of that Arizona game. Carr is 9th in the league in passing yardage, largely because he's thrown the ball a lot. His yards per attempt ranked 23 in the NFL. His touchdown tosses, he's tied for 10th. Not bad, not amazing considering how often he's thrown the ball. His picks, however, tied for 2nd most in the NFL. Carr's been very average, largely because he's not been protected. By the way, his completion rate, it's 25th in the league. He's not been very good, despite the fact that they're better around him at the weaponry positions. And I think part of that also is because up until Sunday when they ran the ball down Denver's throat, they've been very imbalanced. They were the most imbalanced team in the NFL going into that game. Now, they broke out against Denver. We'll see if they continue to do that this week against a much, much improved Kansas City run defense. Look, Josh Jacobs went off for the first time in this past week against Denver. He did everything he wanted to do, went well over 100 yards. Okay, Denver could not stop him even when they knew it was coming. That's going to be a key for the Chiefs. You want to make that offensive line have to protect in these longer down and distances, the 2nd and 8s, the 3rd and 7s of the world. If they can do that, I think you see the Chiefs turn the dogs loose. They blitz. They get after Carr. They've never been afraid to try to heat Carr up. That's always been the book on Derek Carr. Get after him. I think the big key in the game for the Chiefs defense will be stopping the run, should the Raiders try to stick to it again. But also, you've got to do something in limiting Adams in this game. Look, Adams has been up and down. He's had some good games. He's had some games where he's not done much. To this point, so. But he's the kind of guy who can wreck a game. He can go for 180 yards on 7 catches if you allow him to do it. The Chiefs cannot allow for that to happen. Last week against the Broncos, 9 catches, 101 yards. Before that, 2 games prior combined, 7 catches, 48 yards. So if you're the Chiefs, you got to hold him down a little bit. Waller, look, he's an interesting cover. Without Willie Gay, I expect the Chiefs to try to bracket him a little bit, maybe even drop Justin Reed down, go a little single high safety. If I'm the Chiefs, I'd play a lot of single high in this game. I think that's the way you cover. You're not worried about Carr beating you over the top all that often. So I'm trying to choke off the shorter routes, cut off the run game, and double Adams, especially on 3rd down. Offensively for the Chiefs, I'd like to see them do a lot of what they did against Tampa. Play a balanced attack. I think that helps you with Crosby to slow him down a little bit. And I got to be honest, this is one of those games the Chiefs should be able to do what they want to do throwing the football. The Raiders should not have a ton of answers on the back end. If the Chiefs hold up in protection, this could be a bloodbath down the field. The Raiders just can't cover. And look, the Raiders, that is, have not faced great quarterbacks outside Herbert. It's been Kyler Murray who's struggled this year, okay? And then after that, it's been Russell Wilson, who's been awful this season. And he actually had a good game against the Raiders. And then it's Ryan Tannehill. The Chiefs should be able to move the ball considerably. It's going to be about execution, making sure they don't beat themselves with penalties and turnovers. If they can avoid that stuff, I think they're just fine. Look, the bottom line is this is an important game for the Chiefs. You could be 2-0 in the division. You could get to 4-1 overall, and then you've got the Bills coming up in a short week after that. This is a moment for the Chiefs to capitalize on that big win in Tampa. You don't want them to regress. I think this matchup really does favor the Chiefs on both sides of the ball. I think it's an opportunity for Kansas City to get off and running here as we get into the October portion of the schedule.